I was thinking about making a video explaining about the sensors and the hoses for this specific configuration of non-turbo 2.4 engine. This one you see it has the later Bosch throttle body, so it runs from 2003, 2009, 2001, 2002. It had different throttle body, maybe different hoses, a different thermostat. I'm not sure about the intake. But for this one specifically, let's just see first the hoses from the intake. So we have this hose here. This goes to the let me see, I got a flashlight, but it's too sunny to see. It goes right underneath. There is a evap sensor. It's a check valve for the canister evaporator emissions that goes right on there, and it's hooked on the it's on the block. There's a hook, and it also has this connection here. This one goes to the charcoal canister or something like this, the emission systems behind the car where the reservoir is, fuel tank. So that's the sensor right there. This hose gets really dirty at some point. I did clean mine, but you get really black on your hands. This hose now goes to the sensor for the brake booster. Basically for the brake booster auxiliary pump, which sits right there. It has a hose, electrical hose to it, but also it has this thick vacuum hose to it, so this sensor sometimes goes bad. So notice how the sensor goes, it's positioned. I think you'll notice it says engine on this side here, so it always stays like this with the connector in the front. The hose that goes to the intake is on this side, and this other hose runs and goes to the brake booster. It's connected to the brake booster right there. Also the intake has this hose. It's lower here, and it runs to the MAF sensor right underneath. You feel it, it has a small bolt. MAF is atmospheric pressure sensor, not MAP. MAF, this it's a different sensor. The maps is that the map? I'm just tired right now. MAF. So this is MAP, atmospheric pressure sensor, and this is the MAF, manifold airflow sensor or something like this, which has a hose, a connector. This one, careful one, notice the non-turbo has Phillips screws, regular one, but the turbo engine has secure Torx ones with 5 edges, I think. So you really need to find the tool or just drill it and replace with Phillips. Is much easier. Careful, inside this one for non-turbo you have a temp sensor, a thick one, and the MAF sensor itself fits into a hole. So there's 2 sensors. Not when you need to clean them, check for the MAF, the tiny one inside the hole. You also have intake, a small hose. This non-turbo, I think, has a small hose like this, goes, and it's the, let me see which one is it. It's the left one here on the air filter box. While you notice on non-turbo a right hose which goes right underneath here. I cannot see it properly, but it goes on this cover, and this is the air intake thermostat, which fails, stays open, and you need to do a small fix. Check my I will link at the end of the video my channel, so check into that channel list, just Ctrl F and look for the fixes for these things. This is about the sensor on the intake on this area. Now we have the FPS sensor, fuel pressure sensor, which goes bad very pretty often. Sometimes it needs to be replaced. Not all the car has them. Some cars will have another pressure sensor here, like around stuff. This one, I think it's a cam sensor or something like this. Not so problematic. Down there you'll have, I won't see it properly here, it's the crank sensor, which may be, if your car doesn't start, it may be a problem. But oftentimes you have the camshaft sensors Depends on the configuration. Sometimes you have a second one. This also can get problematic, not allowing the car to start. Thermostat 2003 and up, very problematic to replace. It gets bad after 10 years or so. Check my channel, check other channels. It's really hard to reach the ball. Sometimes we want to split the houses. It's $100 repair. Coolant temp sensor, if it goes bad, sometimes the wire here will crack. The car may not start. You'll see the gauge temperature will just jump or stay weird. It has to climb steady until 12 if it's working properly. Now we have the ABS, front ABS sensors. One is connected there, the other one there near the tower. You can interchange the front ones. The rear ones are different, but you can interchange the rear ones, I believe. Front oxygen sensor. I should do a small video about this, how to remove this guy, because I use a trick. I use a adjustable, what's the name again? Pliers. I hooked an adjustable pliers on it, and then with a extension bar I did force on the adjustable pliers to undo the sensor to replace mine. I think the connector is right there, just behind the transmission. This is pretty much, I think. Let me just look around and see. We have the controller for the radiator fan. Sometimes it goes bad. The connection here. Sometimes the starter, especially 2001 and 2, has a small solenoid, a wire that goes bad. The connector may not allow the car to start. I think I did. This is the brake pedal sensor on the brake booster right here. Very hard to undo. It has a circlip. Sometimes you really need to push it back in place when you replace it. A little bit difficult to undo. And that's pretty much it, I believe. Obviously coil, ignition coil, it's always good to have 1 or 2 for spare inside the car with the tools to remove them, because they will go bad all of a sudden and start shaking, misfire. Not necessarily giving an engine, check an engine, but it's not good to run with them. And also replace the spark plugs. After 100,000 miles, replace the spark plugs, because they will cause the ignition coils to fail. Very nice one. I was wondering what it is. This guy on the left side, right near the PS pump. By the way, the PS pump will start leaking sometimes. It's really not a problem. But there's a sensor here on non-turbo engines which goes into the intake and into the PCV, and I need to talk about the PCV a little bit. This guy here, it's really difficult to put the hose. There's a hose in there, hard to put it back when you replace the PCV. This is just a small heating channel, so the air from the intake gets into that channel and it gets heated, I guess, to keep it flowing. So it doesn't get clogged, that's what this sensor is for, if you wonder what's the guy doing there. And then you have the PCV underneath. All of Volvo owners knows about the PCV checking, the way to check it, the way to replace it. You need to undo the intake manifold. Usually there is a very tricky bolt here. Check my channel for a tip. The turbo ones, the PCV unit and hose is around, it's expensive, $500. Non-turbo it's under 200, but it's the turbo one is trickier to replace than the non-turbo one. And notice sometimes, if you notice I did replace mine and I put a new gasket here. So if you see a gasket like this is the genuine one replacement, right? Not the original one. You see it's clean. If you see it clean, it may mean the PCV was already replaced, so that's a good thing when you buy a Volvo. But when you replace the PCV, again, it's pretty tricky to remove this intake manifold. This non-turbo sometimes has an extra bracket underneath, which is very difficult to see. Maybe you need to undo the radiator. You need to look with a mirror and undo those bolts to replace the intake. Sometimes those bolts are not put from the factory, but sometimes they are there. Depends I guess. I don't know why it's not always the same. These are the this is the hose that goes to the PCV, and the PCV on the non-turbo is not too complicated to replace. Yeah, but it's good to replace it every 10 years or so. The turbo is more complex, it has several attachments. So yeah, this is pretty much it, I believe. Let me just keep going. Let's see here if I forgot something. No, but this is it. Any questions? Just don't hesitate in the comment section. Not my best video. I don't think it's a good light because the sunshine is really behind me, so you don't see, the camera doesn't adjust the brightness properly. But I hope this helps, guys. Any questions, let me know in the comment sections. Thanks for watching.